Good afternoon, students. Today we're going to be reading the exposition for the Cask of Amontillado. The only reason I think we're going to get done with the exposition today is because the vocabulary is pretty intense. So we're going to have to take our time, and we really want to focus on comprehension for this lesson. As I read, I want you to mark words that you do not know. So already up to this point, you completed a vocabulary assignment, and it was a vocabulary assignment in anticipation of reading the Cask of Amontillado. So there are a lot of words that I thought you would probably not be familiar with, including cask and including Amontillado. If you remember from that lesson, cask is a measurement of wine, and Amontillado is a pretty fancy wine. So one that would have been coveted during the time of Carnival in Italy. So just a little background information here. Montresor is our narrator. This is told from the first person point of view. Fortunato is the character that plays kind of opposite of Montresor in this story. So as we read, our focus and the focus I want to set for the exposition, and if you remember, the exposition simply means it's setting the scene for the story. So the characters are revealed, the conflict is introduced, and the setting is revealed in the exposition. What I want you to pay attention to, and the thing that I want you to kind of set for a purpose for reading the exposition, is what do you believe Montresor's criteria are for getting revenge? He lists three things that he says has to happen in order for revenge to be successful. So this first read, we are really focused on comprehension. The second read, we're going to focus more on analysis and making connections. But the first read, we're just going to focus on comprehension. So if you notice, I've already marked some words and put some definitions off to the side. Those are just some words that I think you should be familiar with. There's a lot more words, and you have to understand that, ultimately, it's up to you to decide which words you mark and which words you decide that you're going to have to define in order to make sense of this passage. So there's a few ways we can go about defining words. First, you can look up the definition, pretty easy, or you can use context clues, use the words around to figure out the word. Good readers do not simply skip past words they don't know. Sure, maybe if the word is unimportant, they can do that. But if you start to do that too often, then you're going to lose the meaning. So, I want you to practice annotating today. Not simply marking the text, but marking the text and making notes. So over here on the side, there's a comment tool. If you click on this comment tool, you can highlight the word that you are unfamiliar with, make a note about it, or just leave it there and then come back after you've defined it and type in the definition. That's going to help you comprehend the text. So I'm going to read the first two paragraphs, and then I'm going to give you time to annotate and work with a partner and come up. What are those three criteria that Montresor says he needs in order for his revenge against Fortunato to be successful? So follow along with me as I read. The 1,000 injuries of Fortunato I had borne as I best could, but when he ventured upon insult, I vowed revenge. You, who so well know the nature of my soul, will not suppose, however, that I gave utterance to a threat. At length I would be avenged. This was a point definitively settled, but the very definitiveness with which it was resolved precluded the idea of risk. I must not only punish, but punish with impunity. A wrong is unredressed when retribution overtakes its redresser. It is equally unredressed when the avenger fails to make himself felt as such to him who has done the wrong. It must be understood that neither by word nor deed had I given Fortunato cause to doubt my goodwill. I continued as my wont to smile in his face, and he did not perceive that my smile now was at the thought of his immolation. Okay, so I want to point out what I believe is the first criteria for success, what Montresor believes it means to get revenge, and how he is successful in that. So if we come back up here, it says, we know he's going to get revenge. He says, 1,000 injuries of Fortunato I had borne as I best could. I mean, he's carried these injuries with Fortunato the best he could, but he finally did something, and now Montresor wants revenge. However, Montresor says, I did not give utterance to a threat, meaning he never let on that he was going to do anything to Fortunato. He never even let Fortunato know that he was upset with him. Then he goes on to say, at length I would be avenged. This was a point definitively settled, but the very definitiveness which it was resolved precluded the idea of risk. Meaning, I'm going to get my revenge. However, if I do it, I have to do it without risk. And the very next line says, I must not only punish, but punish with impunity. Now, impunity is a word that we're already familiar with. We did the IM prefix activity earlier, so you're familiar with this word. What he's saying is, I have to get my revenge, but do it in a way where I don't get caught, or I don't receive any consequence back from Fortunato. So that is first criteria. He has to get revenge with impunity. I want you to mark up the text, do your best to define the words, make sense of this, discuss with the partner, and come up with those other two criteria Montresor believes is important for getting revenge. After you've done that, we'll discuss, and then we'll move on to reading more. Thank you.